I mean, you already know the vibe. We are serving good vibes, bitch. Featuring, darling. Oh wait, on this side.
Isn't she so pretty? A Thailand mermaid. I got this. Oh! I'm just not realizing I got a nice little snake, you know, serving some dambala on this end. Yeah, some divine, you know, mermaid's tail or whatever. On a serious note, this is a very serious video that I'm gonna be recording today. So this video is a little bit heartbreaking. And you guys know that I am completely determined to eradicate fear within Black spirituality by simply educating. And one best way to stop fear or to eradicate fear is to educate people about what Vudu is and what Black spirituality is about. Without further ado, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys a story by one of our beloved Metresas within the 21 divisions, also known as Dominican Vudu. And that amazing, beautiful, pretty, gracious, and most pure spirit is Metrecili. So let's get into it. Now, I always wonder, you know, in what ways can we educate people more about Black spirituality, just to, you know, destroy ignorance. When you don't understand something, a lot of times you will respond in fear towards it. And because a lot of people respond to Vudu with a lot of fear based on, you know, just a lot of the stigma towards Black spirituality and thanks to colonization, we don't have a great name to us. A lot of that really can only be destroyed if we thus educate and, you know, just start sharing the stories of the spirits, especially so that people can stop fearing the spirits in a way where they fear that they're gonna die if they don't serve the spirit, gonna die if you do serve the spirit, you're gonna burn in fucking hell because they're all demons. The list goes on, but you guys understand. So today's story or today's dedication is really going to be to the Medresa Ezili Freda, but from the Dominican perspective. There is a lot of differences between Haitian and Dominican Vudu. In Dominican culture and in Dominican Vudu, we actually shortened it into a creolized word or a creolized name that actually intermixes the word Medresa, which means female loa or female or feminine, and then her name Ezili, which we shortened it to be Zili. And so mixing Metresa and Zili together, you get Metrecili. That's really just the shortened version of a very long name. Her very long and extensive name, you know, throughout various aspects, but the most common being Gran Mambo Ezili Freda Daume. And that is, you know, just the long name for the ancient Loa of the Dahomey kingdom. I'm not going to go into the many different aspects of, you know, Ezili Freda. I'm not going to go into the many aspects of Metrecili. Rather, I'm just going to stick to Metrecili for this video, as this story really just correlates with the existence culturally and the story that is associated with the Metrecili of the 21 divisions. Within the 21 divisions, a lot of people wonder, you know, why certain spirits are the way that they are. Why does Metrecili cry and she wails in so much suffering and so much sorrow when she comes down? Why can't she touch the earth with her feet? Why doesn't she mount people when they have sexual energy on them? But you can really answer those questions on your own, because you will understand why she is the way that she is after this story. Very best question that you can have in your head for the remainder of this video is the question, why doesn't she like sexual energy on her caballos? In Dominican Vudu, we have a lot of legends and stories of the mysteries existing on Earth, or at one point walking the Earth as humans, in which they experienced life just like we did. And so through their experiences, they have retained a lot of their personality as spirits who also serve Bonje, which, for those of you that don't know, Bonje is just Creole for good God. Let's just jump into this video, because I could see myself going into so many routes explaining the various aspects of Metrecili and just her history as a spirit, but I really just want to focus on this right now, so just bear with me. Metrecili has 3 husbands, and this story correlates mainly with Ogu Balenyo. When Metrecili was a young adult, meaning within like the ages of 16 to 18, she was very mature for her age. A lot of people understood her to be extremely wise. She was extremely attentive. She was quiet. She didn't like confrontation. From a young age, she hated drama, but for whatever reason, drama always found her. Metrecili had her flaws, like many people did. And some of those flaws were she would get into drama or find herself, talking about others or sharing information that otherwise really didn't belong to her. She really shouldn't have belonged in a circle of gossip or within that area of talking about other people, but she always found herself discussing other people's lives. With that came confrontation and drama from other female loa, and a lot of her words were turned against her when it came to confronting her through the people that she would, mutually be friends with or other female loas. Eventually, there was always this one man that would always come to defend her and reclaim her sanctity and say that, she is not like this, she is not like that. He would always defend her and he would always pretty much go to war for her. Whether that was, pretty much fighting on her behalf to defend her, fending off bullying and things like that. And that male loa is Ogubalenjo. He was always top-notch, very justifiable, very notably neutral. He would never pick sides, and even when she was wrong, he would have a conversation with her, but on a very just neutral platform where he will remind her of her errors as well as put people in their place if they got out of character. Eventually, she fell in love with the character of who Ogubalenyo is and how he carried himself, and she respected him a whole lot because he was very neutral. Also, because of the way that he carried himself, she understood that he was a good person that she could rely on, especially because he always defended her. She also respected him because when she got out of line, he always was there to remind her of her biggest duties, which was to be truthful and to be righteous and to be good. By the age of 19, she eventually got married to Ogubalenyo, and when that happened, she and him lasted for forever. They didn't believe in divorce, and oftentimes their relationship did get a bit toxic, and usually that was because another female loa would get in the way and Metrecili would become extremely jealous. Eventually, Metrecili's jealousy really made her a very, for a lack of better word, a bitter loa. Bitter not towards humans, but towards females in general. She didn't like that women could appeal to her husband, and with that came a lot of her trust issues towards females especially. She knew and she trusted Ogubalenyo so much that she never questioned his loyalty, but she always questioned the loyalty of her friends, as especially other female loa. A lot of those trust issues came about, especially when she would notice that the male loa would often talk about young metresas like Anaisa Pie and how sexy and beautiful she was. Oftentimes, these gossips, as she would so find herself in, she would feel that perhaps Ogubalenyo felt the same about Anaisa as well. Soon enough, she got pregnant by Ogubalenyo, and when she became pregnant, by the 3rd month, she lost her first child. At first, she had believed that Bonje had actually punished her for all of her sins in regards to gossip. She had planned everything. She planned to name the kid. She planned, pretty much the parties that she was gonna have for her child. She planned on not being spiritual and just really just taking care of her family instead of, the larger community. She really just wanted to be the loa that was like a very feminine, dominating in the household kind of spirit, where she really just wanted to take care of her man, her family, and that was it. She really was hurt because she always dreamed of, having a life and a family with Ogubalenyo. She got a consultation from Agwe, who is one of the ocean loa or one of the ocean spirits. And Agwe pretty much consulted the oracle, told her that one of the reasons she lost her child was because a spell was thrown on her, was within her own spirit and within her own body, that she had to really work through, but she could get through it. He gave her a whole list of recipes, and when she performed each and every single ritual, she planned to have a second chance and attempt to have a child with Ogubalenyo again. When she attempted to have this child for the second time, she got pregnant again. When she attempted to get pregnant again, she in fact did get pregnant by Ogubalenyo, but by the 5th month, she lost her child. And within that miscarriage, she again was wailing and sorrowful and just completely distraught and feeling hopeless. She went back to Agwe. However, when he read her through the oracle and consulted God, it had actually been found for the second time that this time someone had actually tied Metrecili's tubes together so that she can't get pregnant. According to legend, the person that did this witchcraft onto Metrecili really was not able to be found or mentioned. That person usually fluctuates between being Anaisa or being Martha for whatever reason. When her tubes were tied, Metrecili was considered infertile indefinitely. The spell had actually completely destroyed her ability to get pregnant. When she received this news by Agwe, she was completely destroyed. She felt like less of a woman. She felt like she could not please Ogu. And Ogu at this time was so busy trying to, make money and make ends meet that he was always out for war and he was never by the house. Eventually what happened is she fell in love with Agwe because he was the only one there to comfort her with answers as well as to give her any information she needed about her pregnancy and about her health. He eventually was the best cook in regards to helping her get back together. He knew all of the fish of the sea. He knew what she had to take in order to get her hormones back and to get her health together, as well as have nutrients to have strength. So when she fell in love with him while Ogu Balenyo was away, she got married to Agwe. When she got married to Agwe, she still didn't lose her love for Ogu, but she definitely had that comfort that she could get from Agwe. Agwe eventually showed Metrecili the entire world on his ship, and while she was on this ship, she never found happiness again. She was always seeing the sufferings of the world while she was on the ship with Agwe. She always saw how women were barren. She always saw how women and men, were suffering, how men would cheat, how kids were being killed, how kids were being tortured. She always saw the negative within everything, especially because she herself never got past that depression of losing her child. When she got back to Guinea, or when she got back to heaven, she found herself still extremely upset. And this time, that depression became bitterness towards the female spirits entirely. It came to a point where she literally wanted nothing to do with anybody. She didn't want anything to do with females. She wanted no parts to do with Anaisa. She actually felt disgusted around Anaisa Pie and around a lot of the other spirits that were able to have sex so freely and be prosperous. Because if you guys don't know, there is Geresita, Gedelia, Candelito. All of these other, children spirits pretty much came from other Loa, but Metrecili was unable to have her own children. Thus, she became extremely hurt and bitter towards just every other Loa, and she just wanted to be alone when she got back. After her long days of suffering and her unending crying, God actually came down and spoke to Metrecili and told her that for her suffering and for her deep pain and sorrow for the earth, he would bless her spirit and all of her children thereafter. And she asked God, "What do you mean, children? Why have you cursed me to not be able to have children?" And he told her, "You will have children beyond what you know." He bestowed upon Metrecili the power that all of her tears shall be rewarded with the essence to break witchcraft and free people from all their sins and their evils as well. And in that moment, Metrecili understood that she would bless everyone with her tears and free people. She will be able to adopt humans as her children. Thus, she promised God for his blessing and his mercy onto her to have that power to use her tears and her suffering for good. She promised God that she would never abandon her children on earth. Thus, every single child of Metrecili, whilst they may have their issues with gossip and whilst they may have, their issues with people, witchcraft will never touch them, for they do not need to become initiated to be protected from witchcraft. They are already from birth automatically blessed with that power. And when they cry, Metrecili's suffering is 10 times worse. She's always the one to come down and make her children cry. because when they cry, she is actually the one crying for them, and she takes that suffering, which is why a lot of people after they're done crying feel so much better and they feel like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders. That is actually Metrecili taking your suffering, for she is just one of those loving spirits that promised to always do good onto humanity as long as y'all are not able to suffer anymore. And that is the story of Metrecili's miscarriage and how she became the Loa of purity from her pain and despair. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned a little bit more about Metrecili. She has a ton of stories attached to her name and a ton of stories that explain her spirit so well. That is one very, very beautiful, miraculous, and just powerful Loa that is constantly giving onto humanity, constantly willing to do for us. But she does demand us, we put in that effort just as much as she puts in that effort for us. Lucy progreso to all of my followers. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for the long video, but you guys know that I have to give you guys the details and the gist of everything. Lucy progreso. Love you lots.